A long time ago, I had a lot of tightness and stiffness in my entire body, which led to a lot of pains and aches in my joints and tendons, especially for someone who's been training a lot. And even though I started stretching regularly and things got way better than they used to be, there was still one thing missing. But it was only when I started doing what we're gonna do today that everything truly changed, and it suddenly made click. And my body never had the same problem again. When it comes to fitness in general, we're usually looking for measurable results. A bigger biceps, a better stretch, getting deeper into a specific position. And while things like that are really easy to measure, quality of life benefits are a little bit harder to quantify. And that's where most trainers and fitness gurus forget what it's really about. Quality of life improvement that can be measured by how you feel in your body, which is very subjective, instead of measuring my biceps and instantly being able to tell if what I did was effective or not. And today we'll be talking about one such thing, which are full body integrating complex movement patterns. All that means is that we're talking about exercises that integrate your entire body, take your joints through a complete range of motion, and combine the four major aspects of training, which are strength, flexibility, endurance, and coordination, all into one singular exercise or drill. And today we have one such drill that basically changed my entire body and my entire life. And while this drill is a little bit more complex and a little bit more advanced, by the end of this video, I can guarantee you, you will know how to get there step by step, no matter what level you are. So if you're ready, let's go and have some fun. This video is sponsored by the most important person on this platform, which is you. You, my dear viewer, by liking this video, subscribing to this channel, and watching the whole thing to the end. Not only do you give me the motivation to make even more such videos, but you're also helping me to buy the most gourmet food for my two cats, so they do not kill me in my sleep. Now, the very first thing we need to work on is our base movement, which will be the Cossack squat. In and of itself, an absolutely amazing strength and mobility exercise for your lower body. To do that as easily accessible as possible, we have three different levels. Our starting position is a wide stance with parallel feet, and while this is going to change, for now you need to make sure that both of your feet are pointing forward. That's very important. From this position, bend in one hip, keep one leg extended. We now have some internal hip rotation on one side, and we're stretching our adductors, working on opening up our hips even more. Switch from one side to the other, keep both feet flat and parallel, and work your way down until you can bring your hip joint to the same exact height as your knee joint. This will increase both the stretch we have in our adductors, and we will be working on our ankle mobility, which is also very important. Our second level will require a tiny bit more core strength. We now want to be able to sit down all the way without our heels raising. This is going to require immense amounts of ankle mobility as well as adductor flexibility. I would highly advise to take your time with anything where you feel a lot of stretching, because we do not want to get injured. This is going to set us back, and we're going to take even longer to progress. If you have problems with sitting down this low, using a stick for assistance until you do have the necessary flexibility and until you do build the necessary core and hip flexor strength to sit down all the way without assistance. And at some point you will be able to just do this all by yourself. And the difference between level number 2 and level number 3 is that now we are adding external hip rotation by turning one foot upward in the extended leg, and now we're also raising our heel. For one, this is going to require more balance, which is going to include your core even more and all the muscles surrounding your ankle to keep you from falling backwards or forwards, strengthening your foot musculature and stretching your feet as well, which is a nice bonus to have. And we always want to move all the way up and all the way down, so we can add as much strength benefits to our quads and our leg musculature as well as our hip musculature, so we can combine, as we said, all the major training aspects in one singular drill. Having mastered our base movement, the Cossack squat, now we're going to add specific variations that tweak it just a little bit so we can increase both of our mobility as well as our strength in the parts that we're gonna need to be able to go through the whole thing. Since we will need a lot of anterior chain flexibility, we'll start adding that to our Cossack as well by lowering one knee. Once again, we have external hip rotation on one side, and we're going to push our hips forward, lengthening from the lower insertions of our quads, moving all the way up through our hip flexors towards our abdominals, and we are strengthening our posterior chain by flexing our biceps femoris and our glutes as hard as we can, pushing that hip forward. 2 ways to reverse out of this. As a beginner, you will use your hands to help you out slightly until you have the necessary coordination and strength to reverse out of this movement all by yourself. This is going to require more hip flexor strength as well as more foot muscular strength to be able to reverse this and to pull your knee in. Not to mention a lot of core strength to keep your balance, once again, from falling either forward or backwards. Push your hips forward, open up your anterior chain, flex your posterior chain, reverse, always move all the way up. A lot of quad engagement and reverse to the other side. Next, we will require a lot of lumbar flexibility as well as lumbar strength for the rotation we're going to take our spine through. And adding this is as easy as lowering down into our Cossack with external hip rotation and elevated heel. And now for the first level of this, all we want to do is grab our toes, right hand to the right leg if that is the extended side, or left hand to the left leg if that is the extended side, increasing our posterior chain stretch, moving throughout our Achilles, our gastrocnemius, our soleus, our biceps, all the way to our hip extensors. And now moving up through our spinal erectors, our lumbar spinal musculature, by pulling our upper body closer. So now we have this amazing stretch moving from here all the way up here, opening up our back, and move to level number 2, which will be crossing over. The right hand now grabs the left leg if that is the extended side, adding the tiniest bit of lumbar or spinal rotation. Really push into that move, hold for a second or two, reverse all the way up, a lot of quad engagement, and cross over on the other side. The more you can move yourself into this rotation, the more you will be opening up your obliques and your spine, helping with tightness in your back, as well as tightness in your entire lower body. Not to mention that now we have even more adductor stretching and flexibility bonuses by pushing our knee actively outwards, also strengthening our glutes on the outside, and of course repeating as often as we can. Now our next variation is going to maximize our hip, knee and ankle mobility, and with this one, please be very careful. Take your time, especially when lowering into that position, and you're gonna notice why. Just like we did before when stretching our anterior chain, we're going to lower our knee, but instead of pushing our hips forward, we now want to push it backwards. This is going to lengthen our foot musculature to the maximum, stretching everything from here all the way to our Achilles, forcing us into full ankle flexion. We have a lot of rotational forces on our knee, strengthening our joint, the ligaments and tendons surrounding it, working a lot on hip mobility, opening up our adductors even more. And once again, if you are a beginner, use your hands to reverse out of this position, and you can even use your hands to lower into this position, especially if you feel any sort of discomfort, until you do have the necessary strength to do this all by yourself, which is going to be a tiny bit more advanced. And of course we can take this variation to its next level as well by lowering down, pushing our hips down, and now we want to fold forward, adding a lot of posterior chain flexibility on the extended side and a lot of posterior chain flexibility for our back musculature. Once again, bring your upper body as closely to your leg as you can, hold for a second or two, reverse out of the movement, and carefully, if you are a beginner, repeat the same thing on the other side. Now it's finally time to integrate our upper body when it comes to the strength as well, not just the flexibility. Of course, you won't be surprised that we have 2 different variations. Move through your foundation, the Cossack squat, raise your heel, move into external hip rotation, and now we're gonna cross over the left hand behind the left extended leg. We're gonna keep a distance of 1/2 meter or 1.5 feet, And from here, we want to push our hips up now, lengthening our entire anterior chain all the way throughout our chest, our lats into our fingertips. And we are flexing our entire posterior chain. And I mean our entire posterior chain. Our calves to raise our heel, our biceps and glutes to push our hips up, our spinal erectors to push our back into this amazing extension. We're flexing our shoulder to pull that arm in and lengthen all the way. Hold for a second or two. When reversing, we move forward. Once again, you can use both of your hands to move yourself up and down before you cross over on the other side and push your hips up, lengthening your entire anterior chain towards your fingers while flexing your entire posterior chain also towards your fingers. With the next level, taking us deeper into the flexibility part while requiring a little bit more strength, because once we've lowered down into our position here, instead of placing our hand behind the knee, this time we want to place our entire lower arm on the floor. This is going to force us to use more strength in our posterior chain and is going to add more flexibility in our anterior chain once we move as high as we can in our range of motion and start pulling our arm and fingertips towards the floor in this semicircle position. Reverse this movement all the way up, all the way down, lower arm on the floor, push your hips up, lengthen all the way, and so on and so forth. And now that we've gone through all of those variations, we can finally put them together like a puzzle to complete the entire drill. Now that we have all the necessary flexibility and most of the necessary coordination, once again, the hand behind the extended leg pushing up. And now comes the upper body complexity, because we will switch hands and we will move explosively with the bent leg, just like so, adding a lot of spinal rotation, which we worked for before. And then we're going to thread the needle. That leg is going to go through our arms and our leg all the way forward, like so. Once you have the necessary anterior chain strength and posterior chain flexibility, you will start moving with your hand towards that foot. And once you develop enough upper body strength, especially in your delts, your pecs, and your triceps, you will start moving lower and lower towards the floor. And then, of course, we need to reverse this movement. We're going to use the exact same method. Pull that leg in, switch hands, move into this spinal rotation, which, by the way, feels absolutely amazing. Lower that leg, move forward and back into your starting position. So let's go through the whole thing one more time on the other side. Lower down, cross over, switch hands while elevating your leg, turn, thread the needle, work your way up to grabbing your toes, work your way up to lowering down, and then we have this semi one-sided push-up to elevate our body, pull in our leg, reverse, insane amount of rotation in our spine, move forward and up. As for the second, little bit more advanced variation, almost everything stays the same. We have our Cossack base, we have our back bend, we have our hip push up, but this time, instead of threading the needle as we did before, we're going to bring our knees together into full contact, which means that the bent knee moves with internal hip rotation towards the extended knee. And we're going to, once again, switch hands, move into ankle flexion on this side and start grabbing our toes. Once again, once we have the necessary flexibility, and when we do have the necessary strength, we will lower down once again into this pseudo one-sided push-up. Pull that leg in, reverse by switching your hands, add as much spinal rotation as you can, and elevate your upper body forward into the starting position. One more time fluently on the other side. Cossack squat, grab behind, elevate your hips, move into this rotation, bring your knees together, switch hands, and move as close to the ground as you can and as close to your foot as you can for that amazing posterior chain stretch. Reverse by bending your leg, switching hands, complete spinal rotation, move forward and upward, engaging your core as much as you can. Now that we've broken it down and then put it together, let's check out how it looks when we do both variations in one single go. Complete Cossack, complete hip elevation, switch hands, thread the needle, grab your toes, move low and push up, reverse, just like so, move all the way up, all the way down, and this time crossover, move low, grab your toes, pull in, reverse, switch hands, forward, and repeat as often as you want or can. Now when it comes to programming, we will use every single step we learned, no matter how far you already are. Even if you can do the whole drill, we'll start by doing 2 sets of hips to knee height, 2 sets of sitting down all the way, 2 sets of elevating your heel and moving into external rotation, 2 sets of add some anterior chain flexibility, 2 sets of grabbing your toes with the same side, 2 sets of grabbing your toes with the other side, 2 sets of massive mobility for all of our joints, 2 sets of bending backwards with our hand on the floor, and 2 sets of bending backwards with our lower arm on the floor, and then you can put the whole thing together just so we can get all the benefits we talked about. We want to have the full strength benefits, the full flexibility benefits, the full endurance benefits, and the complete coordination benefits. And by using every single one of those steps separately, even if you are more advanced, you will get all of that and more. With that said, I'll probably see you very soon. So until then, have a good one. Captain Cairo. Peace out.